Tell me all those dirty, dirty secrets. Tell me all your dirty little 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 secrets. Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Shovelhed Podcast. I have two guests this week. Like I had said on the last week's episode and the weeks before's episode, I was having some issues with audio syncing and shit like that. And the truth is, just doing it straight from the phone into the software is the best way to do it. So this week we have Jamie Ryan from High Mileage back with us again.
Oh.
And I am also joined by Johnny Henshaw from the band Sweet Release, who are celebrating 20 years?
20 years.
So 20 years.
Wow. 20 years.
As a
Congrats.
band here. Here in
All,
Florida?
all over Florida, yeah.
Okay. That is fucking cool. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
It's
Glad to
good
be here.
to have somebody here who actually has been here for fucking 20 years in this area because it's been the same the whole time, right? I mean, the way the bands and the venues are structured.
Pretty much, except there's a lot less places to play than there used to be, it seems like. You know, there used to be places, clubs all over. Now it's just, you know.
They're very sparse.
They are, yeah.
I
Do you
mean,
feel like COVID thinned that out?
No, I think it happened before that a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the fact that alcohol sales have been so low.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, it's been something that's been dwindling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not something that all of a sudden just fucking happened, that alcohol sales stopped. But overall, wine and beer sales, which are what drives the bar,
Mm-hmm.
are down.
Yeah.
You know, all across the nation. And I was even hearing something like Modelo, whoever owns Modelo, had like a 28% profit decrease.
Wow.
This year.
Wow.
Or something, you know, and it's making drastic changes to the market. You know, in my opinion, from my views.
Absolutely.
Oh.
If you're not selling beer, you're not bringing in the customers.
That's it. I mean, you know, some of the places have gotten a little bit wise and are doing the THC stuff, but it has to be marketed.
Right.
You know, and I don't think I think regulatorily they're not allowed to market it yet.
Right.
So there has to be some sort of regulation on marketing, just like beer and alcohol. You know, you don't see those ads. You don't. You know,
I think it still falls into that gray area. There's not really.
or at liquor.
Yeah.
Remember when liquor disappeared from magazines,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "What the hell happened?
Yeah.
Where's the Jim Beam ads?" You know, like what the fuck?
Yeah. When I started with Big Bad Murphy in 2008, and it seemed like it definitely there was a lot of different places around to play at that time.
Absolutely.
You know, and it was funny. You know, I came here I've been here almost 20 years. I came down and I was with my ex at the time, and we were driving around. It was my very first came, and I would see people riding their bikes all the time. Riding their bikes. I'm like, look at all these people. Are they like, you know, really into health? And my girlfriend was like, no, they all got DUIs.
Yeah.
You know, everybody just comes here and drinks, and they all got DUIs. I'm like,
Did the same thing. I went to the same thing. Like when you drive down 60 here in Vero Beach, you literally will see people in golf carts on the sidewalk. You will see people in their little rascal fucking scooters on the sidewalk. You'll see guys on bikes on the side. And I saw so many people on bikes that I was like, I'm going to have to buy a fucking bike. Is everything that close?
Yeah.
You know, that nobody's fucking driving there on a bike. And then I quickly realized.
Yeah.
The drinking starts at 9 a.m.
Exactly.
And a lot of these fucking folks, like, when somebody clued me in on the fact that Florida's posts mugshots
Oh yeah,
and the shit like that, right? And like if you check it every day, there's at least 30 or 40 DUIs in every county.
That's right.
Yeah.
I laugh about it. It's fucking.
It's a sad thing, but yeah.
I mean, every time you look at it, there's always at least one of your friends in there too.
Yeah, somewhere in there, absolutely. There's an arrest record somewhere, and one of your friends lists for something.
Yeah.
I might be one of them.
Guilty.
Yeah, no shit, dude. It sucked too. I got busted with 2 joints in a fucking van, and I was doing a job for the sound company that was here, and he had purchased some shit off of some sound company like eBay in Detroit, and he pays me to drive a van with a trailer to Detroit, pick the stuff up and come back. And I'm like, all right, this is fucking great, right? Now it's also January, so
Yikes.
Yeah, like.
But you're from New York. You should be able to handle it.
Well, that's what I thought. I didn't think about snow. And all I was thinking was road trip, fucking 3 days out of Florida. Let me just go. I could take this trip, take my fucking time. So it was before medical card Warren.
Yeah.
And in my bag, I had 2 fucking joints in what I thought was a sealed container, right? And I didn't smoke in the van, but you get to the commercial check station when you're leaving the state, for vegetation and all kinds of other shit that they're checking. So that, and anything with a trailer has to stop. Now it's an open back trailer. It's fucking empty. I had never done this before. I didn't think fucking twice. I just kept going. 2 seconds later, there's a fucking trooper behind me, and I'm like, motherfucker. He comes to the window, and he says to me, smells like pot in here. And I'm like, there's no fucking way this guy smells pot. Not only that, but I sprayed the place with Axe before this fucker came, and had the windows open so that it wasn't like he was walking into the scent. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. Sure enough, I give him consent to go through my bag because refusing to do so was going to get me in worse trouble. Yeah.
Bring the dog out.
Exactly. I just let him do it. I spend the fucking 24 hours overnight in jail till I can post my own fucking bail. And I'm like, motherfucker, hey, at least there's a good story behind the mugshot, so I don't fucking mind. But Florida having that law, I think it keeps a lot of people on their toes.
Oh, absolutely.
They're like, I'm not going to have my fucking picture on that release.
Yeah.
The last time I was arrested, one of the last times, this cop's name was either the greatest gay porn name or...
Be careful.
But his name was Tough Huggins.
Tough Huggins. What a name.
Dude, that is a story within itself. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe you.
No, seriously. He had red hair, Officer Hard-Ass, man. Anyways, I fully support our...
oh my God, Tough Huggins. That is fucking hilarious. Oh my God. These things being legalized for however fucking long is just paving the way for the legislation to change. And I think that the THC industry really desperately needed it.
I agree.
All these years, though, in my mind, I have been told, and we have all been told, that hemp has no psychoactive ingredients. Well, all of a fucking sudden, isn't that amazing?
Isn't that amazing?
The hemp has lots of good fucking uses. So I don't fucking understand it. It's
back in the day when you had to grow crops. When you were required to grow crops, one of the crops you were required to grow was hemp because it had so many applications for it.
Well,
I mean, the military used a ton. That's where they made all their rope and
I haven't researched it, but
back in World War II.
I did read something that said it was Bayer aspirin is the actual reason why hemp is outlawed. Hemp itself, not marijuana, but hemp was outlawed. Or maybe actually marijuana too was outlawed because of the same thing, was that they did not want you to be able to use the natural remedy.
Of course, that's what. Yeah,
that was business. You know,
it was a business
I
decision.
Force you to fucking buy aspirin for your headache, and it created that whole fucking industry.
And without getting into being a conspiracy guy, I mean that whole thought process controls everything now. Everything. It's everywhere.
Well, if you're healthy, you can't buy aspirin. You can't buy pharmaceuticals. You know,
right?
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, that's the nature of every business, though. Every business is lined up that way. You know, is that they've figured out a way to force us into believing that this is the way it's got to be.
Yeah.
Like just for sake of instance, this is not political. It's just a fucking observation. Is electric vehicles and the electric infrastructure of the United States. I totally support being able to transition from fossil fuels to a rechargeable electric vehicle. However, we are nowhere near
our grid. Our grid
is not producing enough energy.
It's not prepared for it.
And it's not prepared for it. I could tell you that my community here, there's 722 homes in this community. Every time it rains heavy, we all start losing our fucking electric.
Yeah.
So now start adding electric vehicle charging stations to that fucking grid.
And that's just cars. They say when that would become an issue regarding commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
Heavy trucks, that kind of thing. They use so much more. They're like, we're not even close to being able to.
It's
provide
retarded.
It's a good idea. But we're just not there yet.
Correct.
You know.
And I wish that they would all just fucking stop and say, listen, we're spending all this money on the research. Well, let's cut that in half. Okay. Because we need to upgrade everything else. Now, do I know what is the right way to do it? Do I think we should have nuclear fucking reactors all over the United States? No, because I think that makes us an easy target.
But they have new technology that's coming out that's going to make this supposed to be a lot safer. The whole thorium thing. If that happens,
but we're years away from that too.
The other thing being, I just saw the BMW. They got approval on the
fuck down
on the hydrogen cell. That those are hydrogen cell engines. But it puts out water.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's they said that may make the whole electric car thing kind of non-existent because it's going to solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, but then the next crisis will be that we're using too much water.
Yep.
You know, like we create crises.
It's true.
To monopolize business.
Yeah.
That's human nature. It's been that way fucking since the beginning of society, and somebody realized that I can capitalize on somebody else. You know, the trick to that is to be first and cash out early.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing about all those electric cars, go ahead. The thing about all those electric cars is it's still burning the fuel at the plant
to provide them. That's right. To make them.
So it's kind of. Did you do the same thing?
For those of you watching the show, expecting to talk about rock and roll, didn't know be three old guys talking about.
No, but, you know, look, I can easily tie this whole fucking thing into music because it is especially on the forefront of my thought processes. The cost of everything drives and affects
everything.
The salary that a band can make.
100%.
Okay, because everything that it costs to run a band becomes more expensive. And if people start paying attention to what is happening, you're going to see it's reached a national level, a fucked up national level where acts that used to be able to sell out arenas and then scaled themselves down and started doing like the theaters and the, you know, the OCC bigger, smaller venues, are not able to fucking sell tickets to even those shows. And so now they were
The cruise ones.
The cruise industry has affected that.
A lot of people doing the cruise thing.
Well, see, what ended up happening here is that the only way for those bands to actually make money and draw people is to group them together. Okay. Yeah. So each of them is getting this is where people don't understand how much you can get national acts for. $4,000 can get you a lot of national acts. You put them all together on a fucking bill. Now you fill the place, you can make your money selling your tickets if you do your job right and all that other shit. But the cost to produce that is so fucking astronomical because there's no way to get the word out to mass people without social marketing. And Facebook has monopolized that platform to the nth degree, between Facebook and Instagram and whatever their other fucking, shit talk or whatever else they fucking have. I don't know what else they have. But when you get into their made a business platform and you start seeing what you have to actually go through. And
then it's not even always accurate.
Well, I would like to spend my time on the music and not
having to deal with that. Right. I was looking at the ad from this morning. It had the meta stuff on it. Members of the band High Mileage. The guys from Wisconsin. I'm like, I've gone on there and put a bunch of stuff in. Sometimes I check them all the time. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes it's completely different guys.
Well, here's the thing with the AI.
And we have no control over that.
They're allowing AI to run everything.
That's right.
Okay. And the deal with AI is it is a learning platform. All the AIs are different. Okay. So like I use one called Ideology. Now with Ideology, just like with Microsoft Copilot, you have to teach it to understand your prompts. So what it's going to do is you can put in something like, Copilot, it won't use a real person. It'll only make up a person. So I can't say Warren Von Kruk, make an image of Warren Von Kruk. I have to upload a picture of myself and say, use the face of this image, create a blah, 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 because it will scour the internet for images of me. That's what most of these do. Is if I put in my name.
I'm just a guitar player.
Yeah. Well, here's the fucked up part. I love it. I do. I love getting into the nitty gritties of it because it forces me into a position to see how much it's going to actually cost me to live my life as a musician. Now, in all this business stuff, right? I started out as a musician writing my own material. That was my life. I was going to, it wasn't going to be cover bands. I put everything into me and my bands, writing the music, marketing the music in a time where it was MySpace, and we were all still creating hard copy flyers and we were still reading newspapers. This is just before all that shit phased out. And we don't have any of those avenues anymore.
Right.
So it becomes a full-time job on Facebook for me just to get enough people to see that I'm playing at Filthy's,
Yeah, it's a bitch, man. My thing about AI, man, I don't know if anybody else really remembers this, but I saw the Terminator. It didn't really work out for John Connor. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody thinks that all the time.
Yeah.
Every time I just heard there was some new thing that they just came out with, and they named it. It's actually called Skynet.
Oh,
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, you scare every sci-fi geek on the planet.
That's right.
I'm already terrified.
I'm not that worried because I think, I don't know. I'm going to have my buddy Tommy.
Well, there's your answer. I'm going
to have my buddy Tommy on here just to discuss AI because he's a fucking expert. Like
you just described it perfectly. Used to be, we did kind of know.
Yeah.
This is the first time. I've been saying for the last 5 or 6 years. The first time in my life, I can't see 5 years down the road and kind of have an idea what's coming.
A year ago,
used to be, you could kind of we can kind of see this
Yeah.
Not a clue. Not a clue.
This is what I love about Facebook memories. I just came up where I posted, they started making the AI image thing more available.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a post that said, I just took a small course on AI and purchased the program.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to totally change the name of my marketing game. And I got a whole shitload of people that commented on this fucking thing, busting my balls.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a year later. And I can tell you, it has totally fucking revamped the industry.
Right.
All over. And the thing is that, my father's generation could get away with not keeping up with technology and the times.
Right.
And make it through life okay.
Yeah,
we can't.
That's right.
And our kids can't.
I mean, I'm still from the generation when we first heard about computers. They were these things that lived in gigantic buildings and the spinning reels and all that kind of thing.
My first computer was a Texas Instruments thing that
the little TI, that
you connected to your TV,
mm-hmm.
and then it gave you a book with codes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to make a little alligator that went like this, it gave you the code to make that. But it was X's and O's basically.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm a fucking old man,
but I still remember those systems. I was at the tail end of those when I was coming up. But it's crazy, man, with all these what computers can do now.
Yeah. But did it? So I see. I see. I get to. This is me. Is I see it, and I just embrace it. Because there's no avoiding it. So and I started this when Line 6 first introduced itself. And it was the very first digital modeling amp that the average guy could get their hands on. Mm-hmm. And I embraced it full fucking on. I got into it. I wrote the company. My band was pretty popular at the time in New York, and I got an endorsement. And I started getting like beta test stuff, and I fucking loved it because it was like my ADD. It totally fit my ADD because you couldn't just buy the amp. You had to go into your computer and you had to make adjustments mm-hmm. to your ear and your own private patches. And, technologically wise, it made life fucking simple for the gigging musician. But, and then all of a sudden, all through the fucking 90s, that's everything. Everything was digital. Everybody went digital. When I used to go to the NAMM show, you could see the progression from like Line 6 had 15 booth spots, mm-hmm. And made this enormous presentation of themselves and built a rock stage on it in the middle of a convention center, with all these other fucking convention people around it. And then sure enough, slowly you go upstairs to the Gibson booth and there's a Gibson digital modeling amp. And then
you go to Boss.
Fender.
Boss had their stuff.
Boss was a little bit later.
Yeah.
But that was Roland.
Roland
first,
stuff,
and then Boss came.
Yeah, that's right.
More recently. And then there was a huge explosion of that for a very, very, very long time. Everybody was switching to the digital modeling mm-hmm. amps. Okay. And then for me, 4 years ago, Mig Santos was in the band and he was a hardcore, tube aficionado.
Yeah.
He had his Mesa Boogie and his tone was fucking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, like butter. And I realized that there was something missing for me in my taste on the digital, but I had gotten so used to be able to call up any fucking sound that I didn't realize that an amp with tubes that wasn't compressed the way that a digital fucking amp is mm-hmm. compressed, it's a whole other feeling when I'm playing, you know, and then all of a sudden it opens up your playing to be so much more expressive because you have to control it. You know, it's like the difference between owning, we go old school, owning a muscle car with a carburetor and owning one of these fucking 6-cylinder, fuel injected fucking things. Step on the pedal and it takes a couple of seconds for that motherfucker to respond. Not in that carbureted fucking one. It's like boom.
That's right.
And the more gas you give it, the louder that fucking engine is working to get to its point.
That's right.
And is the tube.
Well, that's why we were talking a while ago about, you know, I'm on my Mesa.
Yeah.
99% of the time. And I use the fractal as a secondary kind of for effects and for, you know, space and for adding some feel to what's going on. But there is just something about the body of that JP that's.
Well, see, now that I had, the guitar, the new guitar player for, Preacher Stone, I saw him down here playing in Fort Pierce. He was playing a festival with me. He was in a band called Whiskey Stills and Mash, which was the bass player from Sabotage, and this guy Daryl's other band that they were touring with. And this guy's fucking tone blew my mind. It was a Marshall, but with so much bottom and oof.
Was it a modded?
It was a fractal.
And
I didn't know it.
And they do sound. There's patches on that fractal that are off the chart.
I was like,
I just saw the guy I was talking about earlier that we saw up north this last weekend was using fractal. It sounded amazing.
It just was one of those, you know, when you hear a tone and it's a holy fuck tone to you.
Well, that's what happened when I saw Eric, your bass player.
Oh, Eric's
through the Cortex.
Yeah.
And I saw his little Mesa rig back there, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool, but I don't think that sound is coming through. And then I talked to him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm using." I mean, his sound.
He's dialed.
Oh my god,
his
bass sound is so good.
We're all kind of a little bit anal like that about our particular tones, and it's kind of what shapes Shovelhed to be what it is, because we're covering so much ground that in my opinion, we have to change those tones up to match songs.
Yeah.
It's too much fucking work. It's just way too much fucking work. So
I know guys that do it. They hit a button.
They
hit a button each song. Each song, it's a new patch.
I have heard some bands that do it very well and effectively well. But you know, I'm like a set it and forget it guy.
Yeah.
That's it for me. Is that I don't want to have to think about it fucking again. I have a specific positioning for my pedals, the spaces between the pedals. You know, I know the distance that fucking pedal board is from my shoulder blades when I'm playing so that I can hit it blindly or not blindly. And, you know, on occasion I fuck myself purposely and I move the pedal board to the other side because it forced me now to use this leg for a little while. But that's just to test my memory function on that one. But like, I love everything about the setup. And when you and I when we were talking earlier, the Reverend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You guys with your sound.
No, not the Black Star.
Oh god, that Black Star, man.
Yeah.
With your sound, but that's what makes you guys, I think, so special as a band around here in general. You guys have that distinct sound.
Yeah.
That separates you from all the other acts.
The other acts. Yeah.
I've heard of your band before. I've not seen you guys. Tell us a little bit about your band. I don't know really anything about you guys.
Well, we've been playing them for about 20 years, you know, around...
How many's in it?
We're a 3-piece.
Okay, 3-piece.
I kind of have a keyboard player sometime. Same thing, you know, a lot like Shovelhed here, actually. We do a lot of covers and stuff like that, too. We also have our originals. But I don't want to do...
He plays a mean fucking Hendrix.
Mean... Who are the other guys in your band?
Joseph Galvin,
okay,
and Brian Shao on bass.
Nice.
Sit up. Don't make me be your mom and tell you to fucking.
Oh, my bad.
Correct your posture. It's better for the video.
You're right. So, but when we're doing a cover song, we tend to make it our own. We don't want to do everything note for note because a lot of us, we all play a lot of the same songs that people know around here. So if we're going to do a cover song, I want to make it our own. So and that's what separates us from everyone else as well. And the way we do it has been working pretty well for 20 years. So so I got to be doing something right.
Yeah. And you're based out of where? Where do you guys live?
We're in Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you play, how far south do you guys go?
All over. Wherever they book.
You're all over.
Yeah.
Cool.
How about you?
This band, High Mileage, we put together in 2000. Really was a response to COVID. My jazz gig, Beachside Jazz, we hadn't played for like 3 or 4 months, and then we had a gig. All of a sudden, I walk in and I'm like, I haven't opened my mouth and sang for months now. Got me a little nervous. We got through it or whatever. I'm like, I have got to be doing something to start keeping my chops up. So met a guy, Pat Spence, a drummer. Here in Vero, and he was putting together a little thing, and it was really, for me, my mindset was just a jam. I wasn't even I'd spent 10 years out with Big Bad Murphy. I wasn't really interested in even booking or playing or anything. And that's where I met, our current bass player, Doug, oh my God, I'm getting so old. Anyway, I met Doug.
You're not even drinking.
I know. What happens? Your brain just goes away. Doug O'Malley. And then our guitar player at that time, the other guitar player, Lou Echeverry from up in Melbourne, great guy, great player. And then I eventually brought my keyboard player in, Jason Amy, who's with us now. And then eventually, Pat stepped back as drummer, and we brought Chris Pelini, who had, again, with Big Bad Murphy. So now it's just the four of us, myself, Chris on drums, Doug on bass, and Jason playing keyboards. And we've got an excellent sound man, Christopher Westlake. So he also runs sound for us all the time. So.
He actually runs sound for us as well.
He does. Yeah, he works for a lot of different people.
He's
good guy.
One of the greatest guys around, man.
Yeah.
So does a great job.
So we've been doing that since we started gigging in early 22, I think, something like that. We spent about a year in rehearsals or whatever, and it's just slowly picking up speed.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, I'll be at your next show.
It's funny, we had been booked at Earl's like 2 or 3 months ago, and she called, she's like, okay, we've got something coming up. Can you guys change your date? So sure, no problem. So we just played, a week and a half ago at Earl's on Saturday afternoon. And then we're back in next Friday
night.
Huh?
Saturday night.
On the either Friday, maybe the Friday night. What is that? Is the 11th? It might be a Friday night.
Is it a Friday night?
I
think it's a Saturday.
Maybe it is Saturday. Maybe it is Saturday night. Anyway, on the 11th. It's on the ad or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we're just continuing to grow our booking, growing our crowd. We had a great crowd there. Our crowd is always, we love, High Mileage. The thing we've always seen is that we may not always have the biggest crowds, but I swear we have the most enthusiastic. They're just, they're small, but they're enthusiastic, and we love them.
This market, it's like I fight with the guys in Shovelhed. Not all of the guys in Shovelhed. Some of us understand it, and some of us don't. The name of the game for a Florida market is to make them dance. They want to dance. Mm-hmm. They want to dance. When you need a breather, then you have to give them something emotional. Mm-hmm. That's when you take your fucking breather and then let them dance. Mm-hmm. I totally get it. We all want to play tunes that we like, but that's not the market that we live in.
Yep.
The market we live in is they want to dance. The more they dance, the more alcohol they drink, the more, that was Live at the Loop was that for us. Yeah.
I mean, the great crowd, big crowd, place was full, and everybody wanted to dance. All they want to do is dance.
That's it. It's this, that is this market. There is, and so for me, it creates a problem because you only have so much incentive to build the show that most of us feel we want to put on. And that all has to do with ambiance and atmosphere and, the vibe of the venue and how much can you afford to put into it because you have to. because there's no lights, there's no PA, there's no, like, you have to invest in that for you. Mm. So you have to say to yourself, how much of my salary am I willing to cut into
That's true, yeah.
in order to provide that venue with the experience that I feel they deserve from me. And you can't in this market, you can't do it effectively with a long enough time frame.
Right.
At every, there's just no way. There's no way to do it. Unless you find a way to control all aspects of it, because everything is just always going to be touristy. So then, you have to make those sacrifices. You have to say to yourself, like, oh, I would love to play, for that one fucking guy that comes up and says, you guys should do Don't Fear the Reaper. I'd love to do Don't Fear the Reaper for you. But for me, that is never going to fucking work. The Journey is going to work. It works every fucking time. The White Snake is going to work. It works every fucking time. Like,
whenever I interview, we're talking about maybe bringing in another guitar player at some point. When my first question that I ask the guy is always, if you were putting together your band, didn't give a shit about what the crowd, whatever the market, any of that, what would you be playing? And that tells me a lot about the guy and what kind of player he is, where his mind's at.
Right.
Now I say that, and then I'm like, okay, now the rest, the next, how will you feel about not being able to play the stuff that if for me, it would all be Disturbed, Alter Bridge, probably some Dream Theater.
Right.
I would be. That's where my mind goes into. I'd love to be doing some new Wolfgang stuff. The new Mammoth.
Man.
I love his stuff. It's so good. And of course, my keyboard player, his first question is always going to be, has anybody heard it?
Yeah, well, and it's the truth.
I get it. He's right. He's absolutely right. So I'm like,
it's too niche.
Some new, I'd love to play some Dirty Honey. I'd love,
Dirty Honey.
See, I think Dirty Honey,
some Dead Daisy, the new Dead Daisies is amazing.
I think Dirty Honey may change things because it's they're the first of the group to actually have a hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from the Minecraft movie. If it wasn't in fucking the Minecraft movie, nobody would have ever heard it except for people like me who actually, I had the LPs. I've listened to them for years. But they were the under the radar. And then you get it and you're like, oh my God, this is like when fucking the Black Crowes were playing with Jimmy Page, like holy shit.
A buddy of mine just sent me the new, a link for the new album, the new Dead Daisies album. And they do a killer version of Black Betty.
I love John Corabi.
I'm like, we may have to do this song. This is too cool.
So he is my number one vocal inspiration. And I got a great I'm going to get into it because it's my motherfucking podcast.
Before you do it, I was going to tell you, my best friend up in Tulsa is good personal friends with Alders, Doug Alders. So they had the Gibson Les Paul Blacktop he plays all the time.
Yeah.
He bought from my buddy Daryl.
Oh, wow.
So they're all, I'll be sitting there and his text will come up, Wilson, what's going on, man? It's great. So
I had, when I told you that early on, or Line 6, I was one of their very first endorsees. And like in my memorabilia around here, I've got like the very first product booklet that has me listed with like Lenny Kravitz and fucking all these other and it's me. And I'm like,
nice.
Like I was like, wow, man. But I had that
and 25 cents, right?
Yeah, it didn't mean anything, but back in those days.
Oh, it's everything. You had
a press
out
kit.
there.
You had a paper press kit.
That's right.
In a folding envelope, and that things like that helped you get gigs that you could never get anywhere else. Because if some manufacturer was willing to, I had advertisements in Guitar World, Guitar Player, Guitar Magazine, and I was an unknown. But now all of a sudden I was getting clicks on my website because I was in these fucking magazines because I had endorsements, and it didn't cost them shit to use my likeness because I was excited,
right.
for some shit like that. But I'm getting off track. Where the fuck was I going? Oh yeah. So for years, I'm in communication with my A&R guy's secretary, because he is now dealing with this explosion of Line 6 being as big as they are, and he's now dealing with every artist on the planet. So I'm dealing with her, and her last name is Karabi. And the whole time, I'm just thinking, what a coincidence. Coincidence. One day, I say to her, I go, listen, I got to ask you, fucking any relation to John Karabi? And she's like, he's my ex-husband.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no shit. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, it's really fucked up. And he's staying at my house now.
Oh, well, there you go.
Like he's been crashing at our house for a little while. And I go, listen, I will never have this fucking opportunity again. I'm like, but I'm telling you flat out, John is like my biggest vocal inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
His debut album, The Scream, Track It Down, it should have been the next Guns N' Roses. It was fucking amazing. Fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and whenever I went to a vocal coach, I would bring them him. And I would say, I want to learn how to do this.
Do that. Yeah.
And then on the flip side would be Journey. And I said, while I'm doing this,
right.
I want to be able to effectively do the two. I want to reach both fucking heights. I want to. So, anyway, I said, would you mind if I sent you a press kit and a letter? And she goes, no. She's like, send it. And of course, me being nobody, and I had CDs now that I had self-produced and all this other shit. I put this whole press kit together. We had just played Madison Square Garden as an invitation. Wow. A comedian invited us to open up his show for him. And of course you don't say no. So we did it, and it was for free, anyway, send all this shit to him in a press kit. And lo and behold, like a month later, out of the fucking blue, it's my birthday, nonetheless. Like literally on my birthday, and I get this fucking 301 area code phone call, and I think that's or 310, whatever the fuck LA is. I knew at the time, and I'm like, okay, who the hell is this? Because you never know, Like my number was on every business card. At that time we carried address books. Because the cell phones were just a flip up fucking cell phone, and you had to have the address book, and the whole 9 yards. Sure. So now I got I have these names in my address book that if it ever got lost, people would know real people's fucking phone numbers and shit. So John Karabi in my fucking address book, number one. He calls me on my fucking birthday, and I spend 2.5 hours on the phone with him.
Oh, nice.
He was probably stoned off his fucking ass, but he was like totally in this, have this conversation with a fan thing. And he was mentally like not, I got the impression that he was in a spot where he wasn't very happy with where his life was at that moment.
Yeah.
The Motley Crue thing ended in a bad way, and and all that other shit. And there was a little bit of quiet time for him. And then he was doing some producing of other bands, and he wanted to produce me, and I couldn't afford the production fee. And I totally understood it because it's business. It was a business, But that 2.5 hours for me was like the best rock star conversation I have ever had in my life, and it was just fucking great,
Yeah.
And I've been an immense fan of the guy ever since. Everything he's ever done, from Union to, Dead Daisies and all that shit. Actually, when he left Dead Daisies and they brought in Glenn Hughes.
When he is right.
I wasn't as big of a fan. I'm not a huge Glenn Hughes fan. I know there's some Deep Purple diehards that are fucking big Glenn Hughes fans. But I was always more his type of fan.
Right.
His shit was cooler.
Oh, and that kind of stuff happens from time to time in this. I grew up on a farm in Kansas, right? So my list of, I have a very short list of, I got to spend a little bit of time with Sammy Hagar back did a thing where when I went, they were setting up we were, I don't know what was going on. I went to the arena and just sat there all day and watched and,
cool.
and went over. I saw the guitar tech was setting up his area. So I went over.
You could do that though.
You could do that. You just walked in and then I'm standing with the guitar tech and he and I are talking. I told him, local player here. This is when I was living in Springfield, Missouri. And, he's like, the guy was like, I can use some help. You want to help me? Of course. I'm just standing here. And he's like, about that time we're doing stuff and he pulls out Sammy's red. I can't drive 55 to Dean. Hands it to me. He goes, hold this for me for a second. I'm like, do you mind? He goes, no, go ahead. So and then we're sitting about that time, Sam comes out and that was an experience in and of itself, just because, you think about the rock star, he's Sam wasn't the rock star. Sam was the boss.
Yeah.
He came out, he's walking, they've got these long things on the stage where people walk out and he would walk out to the end of those and was like jumping, like making sure, and he's looking at the lights. The whole vibe of the room changed when he walked in. Cause like if you're at your job and by that time the owner walks in, you're like, everybody's like, oh, snap too. And he came over and talked for a little bit and got to meet Gary Phil and Bill Church and all those guys. And he couldn't have been any nicer, sweet or whatever. But, one of my closest friends on a fluke, Joan Jett canceled her opening, for Robert Plant. And my buddy's band got to open out in front of about 12,000 people and for Robert Plant. Wow. And they're backstage. It was just like in 2 or 3 days the whole thing came together. Yeah. And they were just a local band just playing, whatever. They had a little bit of original stuff. And they're sitting there waiting to go on. They're like, what about that time? And the guy opens up and goes, here comes the man, introduced himself as Bob. I'm Bob.
Right.
Nice to meet you guys. And my buddy was like, okay, I can die now.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've met Rob.
There was
Robert
a time.
and got to open for Robert Plant. And he's like, that's it. I'm done.
There was a whole time in the 90s and in the 2000s where you could get those gigs. Mm-hmm. You could be a local nobody.
Especially if you had a little bit of connections in a city with a radio station or some bookers people.
That's how I learned it. Like I tell the story all the time about that. I used Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley as businessmen as my fucking template. And everything you read on that band, if you read it not as a fanboy, but you read it as a study in business and music economics, every step they took from the beginning.
Gene Simmons was the smartest man in rock and roll.
100% calculated. They knew exactly what they were doing. And then what you do is I looked around in my local scene because there was always 1 or 2 bands in every genre that was at the top in the scene. And there's a reason why. And you would go to those shows and study them and say to yourself, can I do this? Could I do that? Mm-hmm. Now, realistically, not like a lot of musicians who, stand there with the crossed arms and blah, 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 and judge you. But could I do what's necessary to be that guy who's at the top of the fucking heap? And how do I get there? And you study those fucking people and you realize that there's more to the game than just being a good band.
Oh, yeah.
Now it starts with being a good band. That's the beginning. Great vocals is 100% must, because when you're pulling a fucking song off that people are used to hearing a specific and a certain way.
That's right.
You better be able to fucking pull that motherfucker off like convincingly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be exact, but you got to convince the crowd.
The one song that drives me fucking crazy that I hear girl bands do, and I'm going to say it just because it's one of the songs with the highest fucking note I've ever heard, is that Bring Me to Life with Evanescence.
Evanescence, yeah.
I hear bands do it, and like when it's flat, that high note goes flat and they don't get there, and I'm like, whole time
they don't have. Well, most of them. The problem.
Seriously,
first problem is they don't have Amy Lee's Parkinson's disease. They don't have her classical training,
right.
She has, and that's that's part of what makes her sound the way she does.
Yeah.
Is that, she very, very, very formal in a lot of ways with that.
Or if you can't do Journey, don't do it.
Yeah.
Do the songs that the singer excels at, that the crowd wants to hear. Like that's the makeup of Florida. Yeah. The whole state. The whole state. Even if you centralize your focus and say, I'm going to reach out to the biker groups, or I'm going to reach out to the I don't know. If you try to divide up the scene, it becomes a problem because you alienate everybody else. So
different bands have we don't have your crowd, and I'm not talking about size.
Right.
Your crowd is not really our crowd in a lot of ways.
Correct.
Ours is maybe just a little bit older
of the scene. Focus on what you do.
Right.
100%.
Definitely more of a little bit older, but maybe more of a dance crowd. We definitely do more dance stuff. Not that yours isn't danceable, yours absolutely is, but I think we kind of
want to do a fucking Sly Stone song, but like a harder version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we're adding a Prince tune, so it's
nice.
enough.
Well, you've added a couple things lately that surprised me.
A Prince tune to our set list as well.
What?
Doves Cry.
Okay, all right. Actually, that fits you. That how you gonna do that? That
I don't know yet.
that beginning is fucking
reimagining
guitar jerk off. I love that beginning, but you better be good on it.
I don't know yet.
Like you better own that motherfucker.
It'll be a surprise. So, we're a lot similar in a lot of ways. We both do a version of Wicked Games too.
Yeah.
But my version is completely different than yours, which I really, let me tell you, I love your version of that song.
You know where that came from? Why? Was I read an article. This is when the Black Album was big, Metallica's Black Album. And James Hetfield said in the article that he thought the most perfect sounding song for him was Wicked Game. And
that tells a lot about where his headspace is at.
Yeah, especially at that time, right? Because it's not what you would expect from James Hetfield.
Right.
And so, and it was inspired one of the Nothing Else Matters or something like that. And I didn't hear that in the song, but I said to myself, because I live in cover band world, right? I'm like, I would love to do this song as if Metallica wrote it. And so what I started doing was playing it on my radio, like in my mix, right after Enter Sandman. And then I would listen to it like that over and over again. So I could hear, how can I make one go into the other? And how can I make this sound like James Hetfield wrote this fucking tune? And that's where that version comes from.
There's a couple guys out there that are making a very good living with their YouTube pages.
Oh, fuck
doing those. We're doing this song in the style of, and some of it is like, okay, how do we do that? Because that is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
That has
the curly hair guy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Holy shit.
I see some of the stuff he does. I'm just in awe.
Yeah, I'm going to blow your guys' minds right now. And don't steal my idea. But I don't think anybody has the balls enough to do it, actually.
Don't say that.
It's Raining Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo.
Why not? I used to do Chain of Fools, so why not? Do it.
Oh, man. I have this perfect idea. I've been working on it, the music for it. I have not quite there yet where I want it to be yet. But it's, oh, man. In my head, I can hear it. And my dick's getting hard just thinking of it right now. Not the men that it's raining.
Okay. But you got to clarify.
Okay.
In today's day and age.
You just added a new song that was a bit of a surprise. I'm trying to remember which one it was. That's something you just
Dance
added.
Night?
No, it wasn't a.
Here I Go Again.
No, keep going. That's still too. It wasn't as rock and roll as that. It was a little easier. Something I don't remember what it was. You said that I saw that you guys had added. I don't remember, but I was surprised that you added. It was one of your new songs.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of what else is new. Which we've been trying to add. Eric, the new guitar player, and then I wouldn't play It's Raining Men, but I could see its appeal because it is a blues-based gospel-y type of a song I think you can get a lot of giggles out of it.
That's what I'm going for.
Okay.
I will walk up into the middle of a biker bar and just watch people like, is this fucking Johnny Henshaw playing It's Raining Men?
Dude, listen, I used to do, like I said,
you know how many times we get requested to do I Will Survive?
I do I Will Survive.
Do you guys do it? I mean, we get that request all the time. I'm like,
if I thought there was
a girl
way
song, but all right.
Look, if I thought that there was a way for me to, I have to, Shovelhed is a hard rock. I can't do anything but hard rock.
That's
like
right.
I can't play blues stuff with that band. It's very hard rock based. But there's so many fucking tunes.
I'm trying to push my guys into doing an NXS song, but they keep
NXS,
back.
Dude, I would love to do fucking Men at Work.
Oh,
like some kind of version of The Land Down Under.
Yep.
With a rewrite of it.
yes.
You know? And I haven't heard, there's a lot of them on YouTube because I do this. I will think of a song that I can do vocal justice to. And then I will search the fucking internet for all the cover versions of it, and I will listen to them little by little by little.
The same thing.
And if it catches me within the first 10 seconds, I stay in it. If it doesn't catch me in the first 10 seconds, then I automatically am not interested because it's not professional enough of a thought in the writing of the rewrite for me.
You can tell within 10, 15
Within
seconds.
10 or 15 seconds, I can tell, you know. And then if it's one that I really like, I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
And then I will break it down and I will say, all right, how would I change this? You know, so that it's similar, but not, you know, exactly. I got to post it. There is a version that I have posted in the past of this dude doing a Viking Dream Theater type version of the Ed Sheeran song that is in the third Hobbit movie, The Desolation of Smaug. Okay. There's an Ed Sheeran movie in there, and I'll have to look it up and repost it. It's fucking amazing. Like number one, it's super fast, the guy is playing a 7-string, so it's, you know. But he's also playing electric drums. Yeah. And he's also playing fucking bass.
But how would your crowd respond to it? Do you think they would respond? That becomes the thing.
It would have to be like
there's a great version that somebody redid a cover of Jay Ferguson's Shakedown Cruise.
Yeah.
With that I just am in love with. But I would do it in a heartbeat, but my guys are like, nobody's gonna know.
So sake of argument, the guys in my band would love
and they're probably right,
to do the movie from the song from Rockstar.
Oh hell yeah,
Rockstar.
No, we all die young.
Yeah. But that will only attract a very finite, small group of people within the crowds that you build here.
Yeah,
you know. So my philosophy, as when dealing cover band, is that I need to play songs that reach 80% of the crowd. 80%.
Yes.
I have to have 80% attention at all fucking times while I'm playing. 20% for the bathroom and for standing online getting a beer and, you know, for people that are just walking in the door. But that song, the rhythm of the night from song to song and the choice in song has to reach 80% of the people.
I 100% agree with you. Our job as entertainers on stage is to reach the majority of your people and to invoke an emotion in your audience. It's not the notes. You can be the fastest guitar player in the world, but it's not the note how many notes you play. It's not the notes that you play. It's the notes between the notes that matter.
Right.
It's the feeling and the emotion that you invoke.
That's why I do Fooled Around and Fell in Love. Because the generation, my kids' generation, which my oldest son is 26, 25, 26. That's not a song that he would readily ever hear because he's the Taylor Swift generation of rock star, which is not rock star. And the oddball thing about that, which is what we were going to actually get into last week, is the current state of rock music or music period in general. Taylor Swift, great for Taylor Swift. She could be the most number one selling fucking person on the planet. I am so happy that somebody could do that. Okay. I give her fucking business skills, and whoever is behind the Taylor Swift train, all of my fucking kudos, because I want you to write a book and tell me all the secrets, because that's not fair that she gets to do it and not everybody does. The problem is the longevity, where you have a band like the Doobie Brothers who consistently put out shit for over a decade. There's a full decade's worth of great music that kept them in the charts and on people's minds. And then the same thing with Kiss. You had a decade of Kiss and people building and growing and loving and building and Kiss. So now you had this bigger than experience when you went to the rock concert.
Yeah. There's a reason why bands like Guns N' Roses and AC/DC are still selling out stadiums, because the state of music the way it is, man. I don't know. It just hasn't done. I don't know what it is about the style they're playing or whatever.
We have all created this and it's only going to get worse because of AI.
Oh yeah.
We created this the first time that we said, the first time you heard "You've Got Mail."
Oh yeah.
Like I'm fucking serious.
Yeah.
Because we heard Lars bitch about Napster and we laughed at him. The country fucking laughed at him. He became a bad guy in the nation. He saw the writing on the wall way before everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I believed.
When he started talking about it, I saw it right away. I was like, he is, people are bitching about it. He is.
I was right exactly in the middle of.
We were starting to use Task MDA 88 digital stuff where everything could, the digital stuff was starting. We had 4 tracks of Pro Tools that we were using at the time.
And when he came out with that, when he came out in the fight, I was literally right in the middle of a negotiation with a management company, a huge management company. And I was reading, through all. I'm the guy that doesn't just give it to my lawyer. I read every line because I'm going to have questions for my lawyer and I want to know what I'm fucking talking about, So anyway, I knew that death was coming.
Yep.
Like seriously, it was coming. And then you started to see all these little things change. Now follow me along and then I'll open it up for more discussion. Okay. We did all get excited at one point for, internet radio stations. It was an avenue for which we could get our music out and that we didn't have to go through that record label process and that whole other fucking thing. So we started clicking the little thing at the bottom of these sites like Reverb Nation and all this other shit that gave me permission for you to share my music for fucking free.
But we didn't know that was going to be the death of the entire industry.
We didn't know. We thought
the whole business model was going to fly out the window.
And so what ended up becoming a readily available system for you to get your shit out easier also became the death of your future, because things now became less tangible.
Yeah.
Over the course of just a short 2 decades, people stopped buying and reading newspapers and magazines, which was a very sole source of you getting your information. You had to wait a month for you to get the next interview with
whoever
your favorite guitar players, or to read the tablature and learn a lesson or whatever it was. You had a month to get through the magazine. You were able to pick and choose what advertisements within the magazine made any difference to you, and you would bypass the ones that fucking didn't matter. You had a lot of choice. And so we slowly took the value and the choice of all your decisions and all your hard work away from the entire industry. Nobody championed it. Nobody got behind it all along the fucking way. All anybody did was the guys that had money capitalized on how to make money off of it, where some dude makes the money and the artist makes the least amount of money.
That's right.
They have now pushed it to that point where you are an original artist. Okay. You're in suburban America, fucking Florida. You're writing your own stuff. How do you get it to the people? You sign up for fucking Spotify.
Yep.
You sign like you could sign up for a website, CD Baby or any of these fucking places will help you push your stuff to Spotify and Amazon and Apple iTunes and all this other shit, but I mean, just like all the big time fucking artists, you're generating nothing. Don't tell me you got 43,000 fucking followers if you're not actually generating any,
exactly.
There's a fucked up thing happening where now AI is taking over everything.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Everything from fucking building websites to teaching you how to advertise properly.
It's writing music.
It's writing music. I just posted a thing the other day about that. That's right. There's 5 songs that have charted. And I saw something this morning that I shared it, and I didn't have time to go back and read the whole thing yet, but it was about a rock band that is completely AI generated, that is generating mass views and shit like that.
That's ridiculous.
And the only ones that are going to benefit from that really is like the DJ
creator,
guys, the DJ guys, and the
creator, because no one is going to be able to be the person that the AI wrote and made unless you're also cloning your voice, which you can do now too. I mean,
I'm not really a blues guy at all, but I've been following David Grissom for a long time. Great player. Was with Joe Ely first. He was a story. We used to do Storyville stuff.
Fuck me, man.
He was with Mellencamp for a lot of years. Just a great player. Lives in Austin now, and I follow him on Facebook. Yeah. The guy's just is the best tone ever, right? And he posted something a little while back. He goes, I got my check today from Spotify. He had a picture of it, 47 cents.
Yeah, dude. The whole thing when like Snoop Dogg posted 1 billion streams and the check was $40,000, some shit like that. And of course, people that are not making money are looking at $40,000.
Yeah, but that's based upon that. Based upon those numbers, that's nothing. That's
remember when being having a gold record meant you sold 1 million records.
Well, there's a whole generation of kids that don't know what any of that experience is like. I just watched a couple nights ago the movie. What's the movie with Goldie Hawn's daughter, where the band?
Almost Famous.
What is it?
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous. That was on a couple nights ago. I watched that. And I'm thinking of the kid's like looking through the records and the whole thing, and just that whole
experience.
I
hated when CDs came out because
they have missed a great thing in life. Small. It was a great thing.
Records are outselling
now.
They are
the first time ever. Yeah.
But I mean, first of all, the volume of content that was out there then was so much smaller. Right. Really, it's not now. Everybody with a laptop is generating music. Right. Not including the AI thing, but there's so much more out there.
And the attention span is
like
quick.
that. Where I mean, you would look through, like, you and I know what this is like. You're a little younger, but you walk through the music store, you go down there and you spend an hour or so, and you finally find that album, and you can't wait to get it home and you play it. And those songs really affect your life.
Media is important.
Huh?
Physical media is absolutely
if those
important.
Affected your life, you would read every note on the liner notes.
Do you go to Wax Records?
It's placed in the.
Which one where the old Kmart used to be. It's called Wax Records.
Yeah.
So I love those guys.
Yeah.
And they are such fucking music lovers that I will, when I have an hour or even just a half an hour, I love to go in there.
Yeah.
I go in there with something on my mind, something specific. I never ever walk out with what I went in there for. I come out with other shit, but they're like that. They're the guys, like, I can remember, actually my first job, out of high school was at a record store. It was my senior year of high school, and I was working nights at a record store. And that experience for me was by far what drives my love of the whole of music. You know, was being able to connect with people on their musical tastes.
Yeah.
And to be able to, like, you would see the same people in the record store all the time.
Yeah.
You know, even if it was CDs on the fucking shelf and stuff like that, you know, I can remember going in. I had a whole group of friends that would go to the tape section because at that point, that's all you could have in your car. So now, you know, your collection went from hard records to the cassette tapes because it was portable. So the tape sections now grew.
Oh, I'm an 8-track guy.
I know, me too. And I was really small, you know, but I had
8-track.
But I would go and I would buy things based on the album cover.
Yeah,
like,
of course you would.
You know, I worked all week at fucking Burger King while I was in high school, and I would take that money. And I knew how much gas I needed to get me to and from for the week. And it was also because I was the youngest guy with a fucking car. So you could charge your friends $3 to cut, you know, to be in your car. And that helped pay for your gas for the fucking week.
When I saw Rush's Permanent Waves or Queen's News of the World, I'm like, oh yeah, these are going home with me.
Yeah.
This has got to be great.
That's how I discovered Nazareth, because I was too young for the era when they were actually popular. And so I found it like in a 99-cent bin. Remember those fucking things? The big giant bin that some of them would have?
Yeah.
And you'd go through it, and that's how I would discover things. I discovered some like Canadian metal bands that nobody has ever fucking heard of except small groups of
Coney Hatch
people. Who?
Coney Hatch, great Canadian band.
Yeah, there's this band called The Sword, right? That it's how I discovered them. Was I went in, and the artwork for the album was like a double barrel shotgun, but it was artistic. It wasn't, you know, just a double barrel shotgun. It was like the two circles, and you had to look at it and figure out it was a double barreled shotgun. And I fucking was like, oh, this is fucking cool. And I get it into the car, and it sounded like a more mature Metallica.
Oh, there you go.
With Dee Snider singing.
Oh, nice.
but if Dee was singing like Metallica type, I fell in love. And it wasn't for fucking 20 years that I hear somebody here, like the guys from Dirty Face Kid. They know the band, and they've posted it, and I've been like, oh my God, I didn't think anybody else on fucking earth knew. You know, these guys are the Killer Dwarves.
Influences like that stick with us for a whole life. I mean, you know, aside from, you know, having played every John Denver song ever written, every Jim Croce song ever written, the real effect for me was Kiss Alive 1. And now, of course, we all know that it was all kind of artistically or artificially generated, whatever. I mean, that album, the liveness, the band, the crowd screaming, that is what imprinted on my brain that made me go, that's what I want to do, you know?
Yeah.
And it was
Kiss that did it for me too.
But the first Alive, it was so raw. And even the second one later on, I didn't like them as much. The first one really.
My whole childhood.
And then I got into Rush and Queen and.
Was my parents.
Styx was a huge influence, but yeah.
My parents were the era of
Boston,
Fleetwood Mac.
Yep.
And the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt and
the Eagles, another band I played every song that they played. The Doobie Brothers.
That was me until all the MTV now became popular in 81, I think.
81.
80, right?
Yep, fall of 81.
81. And
I was watching it when
I was just getting into my independent music process that wasn't force-fed to me by my parents or whatever radio station some adult chose. Yeah. You know, because at that point, you didn't have the choice. You were being told what you were listening to, and that shapes a lot of a lot of people in a lot of ways. But now all of a sudden, Kiss is announcing all over fucking MTV that they're taking the makeup off.
Yeah.
I was never allowed to buy a Kiss record. I could never get my hands on them. I was still at a, your parents say when to go to bed. Your parents say when to do this. Fucking, now I'm reaching the age of independence, and Lick It Up comes out, and I was in hook, fucking line and sinker. Everything about MTV during that era shaped my fucking whole life.
Mm-hmm.
It was, the music was all in your face. It was all, you had these groups in high school. You had the country groups. Mm-hmm. You had the fucking preppy kids that were listening to the Men at Work and Huey Lewis and the News. You had the metal guys that were listening to fucking Quiet Riot and everything upwards from there. Mm-hmm. And for that time of my life, like, everybody in your life revolved around the music.
Something music related, yeah.
Related, and that was I carry that with me to now.
Yeah.
I'm 54 years old, and I'm still can't get out of that. I want to be a class of something, not like everything else. I have
to give it to my parents, who were relatively a little younger. My folks had me when they were like 19 and 17, so they were a little younger or whatever. But aside from seeing Sean Anna at a car show, yeah, but of course that was my dad's generation stuff. But he was kind of a little more forward thinking, and they couldn't do the Kiss thing. But I was 14, and my first concert they took me to was Alice Cooper with Burton Cummings opening, which I still remember that too.
They took you to a fucking Cooper show.
Alice Cooper at 14.
Speaking of Alice
Did
Cooper,
he do the head chop?
The head chop, the whole show, the full show. That was.
Parents are fucked up. Like my father was my father. Well,
they couldn't do the Kiss thing, but my dad was like, "This is probably going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing this," and he liked it.
The rule maker.
Yeah, but my dad was in like BTO and stuff.
I was not allowed to own an Ozzy Osbourne record.
Oh yeah.
So
I didn't have any. There wasn't any of that in my life.
All he saw was the fucking image of Ozzy covered in blood with the fucking cross and and then all the hoopla about the biting of the bat and all the imagery of Black Sabbath, and so I wasn't allowed to have Ozzy.
I bought a Queen album. My grandma took a look at it. She saw it before it even opened. She goes, "Tie your mother down. Take it back right now."
But my mother, on the other hand, we had these huge walk-in closets in our bedrooms.
Yeah.
She's in and I had a mirror in there. She's in there piercing my fucking ear without my father's permission. So there were levels of who you could work against on the other one to get away with shit. But the Ozzy thing was a stiff fucking no. Yeah. No.
Well, speaking of Alice Cooper, I grew up when I was a kid. My uncle he wasn't the original bass player, but he toured around with the Jake Alice band.
Okay.
And
from Boston. They're from
and Dick Wagner, the guitarist for Alice Cooper, was in my uncle's band for quite a while.
Wow.
They put out an album together. You can buy it at Walmart. My other uncle from England, he was the original singer for Slade originally, and
before Naughty.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. I went to buy probably 15 years ago. Went down to pick up to buy a couple subs from a kid down in Port St. Lucie. I get down there. There's this kid. He's like 6'4" and about 350 pounds with a heavy Welsh accent, barely understanding. And he had just a couple of some JBL subs I wanted to buy, so I was buying them from him. And I'm like, "So what's the story? Where did these come from?" He goes, "Do you play?" He goes, "Well, I play a little bit." My dad was the drummer from Badfinger.
Oh, okay.
So that was his father was the original.
No
was
shit. There's a lot of people down here that
and his dad had passed by that time. His dad died from whatever years ago, but
usually in every, I'm going to say in every county, there is somebody musically famous that lives in that county.
We were playing down in Port St. Lucie in Big Bad Murphy. I think it was Murphy. We were still, and we'd just done Dreams I'll Never See. The Molly Hatchet version.
Yeah.
And the place there was not a big crowd there, but there was some people came in and we're playing. I think we finished the set with it. Came down off stage went on break or whatever. And I always try to do a little bit of a walk around and say hi to everybody. And there's some guys sitting there look kind of rock and roll looking guys or whatever. Yeah. And they're like, I'm like, appreciate you guys coming out. He goes, you guys did a good job in this. Thanks so much. And I appreciate that. And he goes, you don't know anything about me. And the guy sitting with him, he goes, oh, he's going to tell you he's a rock star now. And the guy's like, well, I'm the backup drummer for Molly Hatchet at that point. That was when Hublik was still alive then or whatever.
Wow.
But he was I guess one of the, like, they have kind of a rotating group of people.
Well, you knew, being that even Skinner with Jacksonville being so close, you could bump into those guys anytime. I know people that have bumped into Ricky all over
Medlock,
Yeah.
I was very good friends with the guitarist from Molly Hatchet. What the hell was his name?
One of 60.
The modern Blackfoot guys are local-ish too.
They are. Yeah. I played with all those guys throughout the years.
They're nice guys.
Very nice guys. I can't remember the guy's name. He passed away, unfortunately, and I feel terrible. I can't remember his name right now. But I used to run an open jam in Port St. Lucie, and he would come up and play all the time. And I would always buy him his drinks, and he drank. Guy's a rock star, and I'm buying him Long Island iced teas all night long. And he's like, "Fuck you, Johnny."
Yeah.
But great guy, man. I love
Penny's nephew is Rodney O'Quinn. That's her nephew.
Oh, really?
Actually, her niece's husband.
See,
and we go out with Rodney and Sarah all the time. And I mean, for the most of all watching would probably know this already, but he's the bass player for Foghat.
Yeah.
Anyway, and was with Pat Travers, but he's been on the road so many years. He's got a million stories of hanging out with everybody. I mean, he's just the greatest to like just sit there at dinner and let's get him going.
When there is a certain point where you put you're in a. When I was building the originals band, right, and our profile was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you get to this point where you're leaving a studio and you bumping into Dee Snider because his band with Al Petrelli, Widowmaker at the time, is rehearsing after you.
Right. And
now you can have a conversation, a human one-on-one conversation with somebody, and realize that, okay, this is like 10 minutes from my fucking house. like seriously, right. Or you go to the pub and Richie Blackmore's having a fucking beer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you're like, well, are you fucking shitting me?
Right,
but on Long Island, he lived within 25 miles from me.
Well, that's what I was telling my buddy that's good friends with Doug Aldrich. I mean, my first question is, tell me about Ronnie.
Yeah.
I said, I want to hear stories I want to hear about Ronnie.
The only way I never even met Ronnie. I did a walk past Ronnie was I was at NAMM, and it's fucking big. And I was trying to get to a booth that I had a meeting at by a specific time. And Ronnie was walking with his bodyguards and Claude Schnell, the keyboard player for Dio's era. And they're headed somewhere for some fucking signing that he's doing. And I swear to God, maybe he came up to the top of my waist. Like he is as short as legends said that he was. And I've seen him live a million times, but when they're up on that fucking stage,
big. He's a god.
He was larger than life.
That's right. That's right.
And when I was seeing Dio, it was for Sacred Heart and Last in Line, which are at his height.
That was his pinnacle.
And you went to those concerts and you had the fucking dragons coming out, and that whole experience of a concert was like,
Carmine was playing. Carmine and Vivian Campbell and Tony Bain. Jimmy Bain. Jimmy Bain.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bain was playing, I think, with him at that time. Yeah.
Fuck, man. I loved that era. Yeah. I loved growing up in that era, and I miss that in music.
Yeah.
I do, because it's not. There's no way for anybody to make a profit doing it because it costs so much to do.
Oh
Yeah.
You know, that's why.
I mean, Aldrich spent years with Coverdale also, and I'm like, I don't hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's why. So you've got some of these guys that can put their put side project bands together that are playing with famous people, right? Like Blando. He does his fucking awesome show. But he's also a member of many bands, and he has to play all the time to keep that income coming in. Because like when you see these guys that are running the show of their bands, they can't afford to put the band out for long periods of time anymore. You know, because the hotel prices are not going down.
That's Rodney with Foghat. I mean, now he's when he was with Pat Travers, he was kind of the road manager. He goes, I did all of that stuff. He goes, when I started working with Foghat, and I walk on stage and they hand me my bass. Life has changed, you know.
That's what
but they're still exactly. But I mean, it's all 99% fly gigs. You know, you know, he takes.
Yeah, but that's
beautiful. They fly out to wherever it's at. They'll a lot of casino gigs, a lot of multi-band gigs, and all the big name guys from the 70s. They got Styx and Foreigner and all these people he works with all the time. You know.
Yeah.
And he'll go out maybe for 2 or 3 days. Sometimes it's just one day. Sometimes they'll go out for a week and really they're in a Sprinter and they stay in nice hotels every night.
Yeah. And I used to remember seeing guys, their go rigs consisted of the Line 6 pod.
Yeah. Just a little.
And then like guys would get on a fucking plane with a backpack and their guitar. And they could always check the guitar in the coat section at any plane that you got on. And your backpack went overhead with you change your fucking clothes and your exact sound plugged directly into any system that you went into. It made life so easy.
Absolutely.
And the same thing now with the Fractals and the Kempers and all that other shit. Oh, is that what he had? A Kemper? I think he had a Kemper.
A girl I worked with when I was in computer business, that literally for 5 years sat that far away from me right there. Her boyfriend was a monitor guy for everybody from Aerosmith to, he spent years with Black Crowes. I mean, Chris, Robinson would, at any time would just call, hey, what's going on? Yeah. I mean, he was with the Cult for many, many years. He traveled the world with Brian Ferry. Nice. He was with Chicago. He worked with everybody. Had a pretty good habit as well that kind of messed him up from time to time, but he, that's the nature of the industry. But I asked him, I said, of all the people you've worked for, I said, what was the best? He said, you're going to die when I tell you. He goes, Engelbert Humperdinck.
What?
5-star hotels, best equipment, payday on Friday.
Right.
No bullshit.
Yeah.
None. He goes, that's what you want.
Yeah.
When when you've been in this for 10 years and the lifestyle is worn you out.
When I started,
and you just want to go to work and do your job and go home. That's what you want.
I financed
he didn't have much good to say
my
about Toby
original
Keith.
music.
Yeah.
All of it by playing covers.
Yeah.
At corporate gigs. Like there was a time in the 2000s where there were just a couple of websites that catered towards musicians at a corporate level. And you paid a membership. You got now corporate gigs that wanted corporate professional bands would go in there already knowing that they were going to pay $5,000 to $10,000. It was a given. And so that's how we originally got into the next level of touring, was that you realize you can do things yourself.
Yeah.
It just requires a lot more work, you know, and
those gigs are out there.
They're out there. Oh, they're still out there. You know, you watch the band Hayfire. I don't know if you know them or know of them, but they're out of Orlando and they are a country band. And I want to say they're a 6-piece band, but they have multiple lead singers, one of them being a female, and she's fucking remarkable. She's beautiful. She has she kicks her legs like up in the air, and just fucking amazing. And they do a lot of the newer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
which is the high energy and up in your, stuff like that. But they get a lot of Disney, a lot of Hard Rock, a lot of
nice.
Universal. Like they get a lot of good.
Well, you mentioned country, and I'm not. I mean, I've played country back when I was a kid, but I'm not a country guy at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's still. I mean, Jake Hare still does a pretty good job, and some other guys.
Yeah,
they draw some crowds.
It's fucking hard.
I think there's still that market out there, but it is hard. But
it's hard because it has to be funneled.
Yeah,
like this market, there's.
You played at Willie's. And you're playing, and then you go on break, and they turn on a couple of country songs, come on the radio, on the background music, and people come out and start dancing. You're like,
yeah.
I mean, that market is still there.
The market is still there. The problem is that it's not consistent enough.
Yeah.
That you could, within a radius.
Yeah.
Right. There's not enough people going out that are listening to the music.
Correct.
Because
it's why bands in big cities can do better than in smaller towns.
Right.
I mean, it's just you've only got a certain number of people who are going to come to that bar.
If it was, and this is why I say that, is because if it was, then there would be a venue that was specific to country.
Exactly.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all live music, all live country. It's otherwise. It's not working because the
sucks the energy right out of the room.
Well, the big country right now are young kids. Mm-hmm. The Luke Bryants, which I don't know how he's older, but it's the generation of that. It's the bubblegum country is the stuff that's selling in the market. And it doesn't resonate with the crowd that's 45 to 70 years old. It resonates to the kids, and the kids are not going out.
Yeah. They don't have to spend their money either.
That's right.
Right. So they're not drinking, and they're not because
they're drinking on the fucking
for the most part, they've reached this point now where they're at 30 years old, right? And they're looking at the prospect of raising a family in this economy. That they not sure that they can do it because they literally, if they're not still in mom's basement, they're just getting out and realizing the cell phone bill costs $110 a month, and the fucking diapers are going to be $90 a month, because those are all inevitabilities of moving out.
Yep.
And
rent used to be $300. Now it's $1,500 to $2,000 to $2,500. It's like
I've got two kids. I'm 40, man. I got
yeah, dude. It's fucking next to it. My heart bleeds because there's no fucking answer.
That's right.
And I don't know. Everybody gets politically, saying who's responsible. But look, it's the whole country. It's every party, the whole country, from A to Z. There has been corruption and misspent money in every administration for as long as I have been alive.
Yeah.
And if it took some fucking crackpot orange joker to expose it.
I mean, well,
sorry,
we're definitely old enough to. I mean, every politician that's come along has always said we're gonna eliminate waste and corruption. Every single one on both sides, I've always said that. The only thing I've seen and I'm definitely do not agree with everything that's been going on this last year, but this is the first one that, I mean, you feel like everyone else in politics, aside from the administration, going, well, we didn't really mean that somebody was actually going to do something about it.
Right now.
We talk about it, but we didn't really going to do anything. And now
solve it right now. Stop letting politicians make policy over things they are allowed to invest in.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Look at the Pelosi thing, man. That continues to come out about how much she's made in the last.
Yeah, but see, here's you want to win me, and here's why you won't win me. No party will ever win me. It's because none of them give a flying fuck about the artist.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't, because neither party is championing the unfair wages of streaming and figuring out a way to regulate
Oh, we are way down the list.
Yeah, but without music, how fucked would this world be?
I agree.
Now, at the same time, we keep bailing out Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
We have bailed out Hollywood more times than I could fucking count. Why do we not hold music to the same standard? Because you can't even have a movie without music.
That's right. That's right. Well, you and I spoke last week a little bit about, we touched on again, prior to your generation, but I grew up in a time when we still had beer bars, and they were a huge segment of the live industry, because you could, at 18, you could buy beer and wine.
Yeah.
And bars that existed that just sold beer and wine, beer joints. Every town had 2 or 3 beer joints, and every one of those places would have a band over in the corner. And sometimes they catered to the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, because first of all, the liquor bars didn't want to be hanging out with 18 and 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
And when you're 18, 19, what are you going to do? You're going to hang out with high school kids? No, this is where everybody went. And when they changed the law, they destroyed an entire industry that affected not only all those bars, because a lot of them were able to convert to liquor, but it took away from the live entertainment side of it, because all those, and now what do 18, 19, 20-year-olds do other than get high? Because they can't, there's no place for them to go, where there used to be a place where they could go and drink 3.2 watered down, the thinnest beer you've ever tasted in your life. That you got to drink 2 cases of it just to even get a buzz.
You remember fucking being able to go, there was a place on Long Island where I grew up, out in the East End in the Hamptons, called the Bordy Barn. Okay, anybody that grew up on Long Island knows about this fucking place. It was only open on Sunday.
A lot of them were huge, huge places.
It was only open on Sunday.
Yep.
It was a fucking place to be 21 to 30 years old, and anything could fucking happen. Anything did happen. Fucking everybody was drunk because it was a beer, it was just beer. It was just beer.
Yeah.
Fucking beer. And you went there knowing that you were going to spend 6 hours, like a day at the beach, getting fucked up on a Sunday. And I can't believe there's nothing that is like.
Well, these places, like I was just talking about, a lot of times they'd hold 400, 500, 600 people. Yeah. Big places. Big, I mean, like someone would have taken, if they still did that, someone would have taken the Kmart building that was empty for all that time and taken a big section of that and turned it. I mean, everywhere you went, there was always a Long Branch or an After the Gold Rush or a this or a that. They were just beer. They'd put a big ass stage in the corner. They'd bring bands in every week, and they would.
Don't you remember?
And those just
5
that all
years
went
ago,
away.
The craze was breweries.
Yeah,
there were fucking 5 breweries popping up in every town along the coast of Florida.
Yeah,
and I think, and the craft beer industry just fucking died. It became
got oversaturated.
Well, it became just like music from the 80s.
Well, speaking of beer, I hate to do that. I've had about 7 of these.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I use
Yeah. Squeeze through there to the right.
Thank you so much.
First door on the right. But the same thing fucking happened in the 80s.
That's right.
Was they crammed so much. There were so many Poison clones that.
Oh yeah.
It was just rammed down people's throat, and there were too many choices.
Yeah.
So now you've got it so watered down that the small group of people that you had captivated is now fractured into 15 other directions, because not everybody's going to, there was a time where, Creeping Death Metallica, if you were into Creeping Death Metallica, fucking Poison was a joke.
Right, of course.
You didn't listen to it. Nobody in your family fucking listened to it. Because if you ever heard your brother listen to it, you'd fucking beat him up, or you'd, put hot sauce in his underwear or some shit. But I don't think there's any. So
what's what's the solution locally? What do we do? What's next?
No, I don't. I'm a pessimist. Okay, with a solution. And when it comes to a show, a concert, if you're a band that just if you're okay with playing 5 shows a week and making $100 a night, and you're happy with that, there's nothing. I'm not saying there's the fault.
No. I get
there
it.
are guys
that
have made a life.
Yeah.
And created a very good path of not having to work a 9 to 5 by playing those 5 days a week, and they get some variety and they enjoy their lives because they're doing what they love to do.
I've been painting this picture now pretty much since I came here. You know, that you see guys, you see them all the time. It's a lot of times the same story. Yeah. They lived up in Ohio or New York or wherever, and they worked their job for 35 years. And they retired, came down here, bought a place.
Yeah,
sat here for about a year. They're getting bored as hell. About that time, their wife is like, didn't you used to play in a band back when you were in college? And he was like, well, yeah, I did. She goes, well, maybe there's some guys down that you hang out with at the VFW or at the Moose or whatever would like to get together. And poof, 3 or 4 guys get together and they throw something, and now they're a band.
Yeah.
And now they're like, well, we don't really care about making any money, so we'll work for $300.
Yeah, but that's going to be any scene.
And
right?
that to me is like, I've never seen it that as much as I have here.
Yeah,
that
but
flooded this market here with that kind of thing.
Here's the problem. I 100% fault the venue. Yeah. It's the venue's fucking fault. It's not the 70-year-old guy's fault or 65-year-old guy's fault who wants to put a band together.
Right.
I fucking encourage that.
Of course.
I encourage music from the day that you're born to the day that you die. And if there's some way that you can create it, get the fuck out there and create it. However, in any business, there are separation of value, cost, popularity, marketability, age group, demographic, area.
All of those things come into play.
All of that comes into play because with music, live music, there are levels. Just like any other business.
Or anything in life.
There's, you've got the mom and pop pizza place who doesn't have any franchise behind them, who's paying all that money for all the supplies and all the marketing and all the advertising and praying that the local community is going to suck up that pizza over the Domino's and the fucking Pizza Huts and the ones that are being shoved down their face because every time they say pizza, the algorithm in their phone is going to show them an ad, and it's going to be Domino's.
An ad just showed up on it.
Yeah. No, seriously.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Music ends up being the same way. Live music ends up being the same way. Now, you want an experience. Mm-hmm. You want a concert. Down here, if a band wants to play on a fucking a sound system that is going to really do them justice. Mm-hmm. The only way to do it is playing a festival that has a professional sound man running a professional system.
100%.
Now, there are great sound guys all across the coast that do great jobs on smaller systems. Okay. But we're talking, in order to drive a giant crowd, there is a sonic science behind how to do that. Mm-hmm. It costs money to create that sonic science. Now, in order to be an entertainment venue, you have to completely lose the alcohol sale from your profit generating system. You have to take that out. Okay. Because, the bars, that's their focus. The bars are as many people as they can get in there buying beer.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That is their focus. Now, if that number is dwindling on who's purchasing alcohol, then they're also losing more revenue the more people that are there. Do you understand that philosophy of it? Just because there's more people doesn't mean there's more money.
That's true.
All the time, because the amount of money being spent and the amount of drinkers that there are is drastically changing. So I'm not going to make half as much money on fucking serving water as I am if or Cokes if I'm selling fucking this guy a beer.
Right.
And as soon as that beer is done, the other beer is done. And that you could thank crackdowns on DUIs and all these other things for creating that.
I can't remember the last time where Penny or I ever went out that either one of us had more than 2 drinks tops.
Yeah.
Really. We're not big drinkers, but I mean, that's the way it is. And
so economically, it is not, there's no way to create the profit in a market where everybody is playing everywhere to make the $500 for the fucking week so that they can survive. And that is everywhere. Okay. Now you can be the greatest band in the fucking world, but if you have to play 3 or 4 nights a fucking week to divide up, say $1,400 between 5 guys and a sound man, you're living on it. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of work for not the reward that putting on a show is warranted for. Now, a show, you design a show to be just that, a presentation.
You put on an experience for you.
Yes.
But a show to me is not a jam band.
No.
And there's for the longest time,
it could be in a way.
Yeah, kind of, yes. But I mean, that's different than the 10 million blues bands out there that are talking between songs going, okay, what song do you guys want to do next?
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's not a show. That's just,
no.
4 guys up there that are playing and trying to figure out how to get through the night.
Somebody that sat down and said to themselves, I'm designing, I'm producing a show, something that I know from experience. I'm speaking outside of me when I say I. Okay, it's just metaphorically, even though it is what I fucking think. Is that there are people here that are fucking sick and tired of the same old. It's getting way too fucking hot and way too crazy to deal with the rain during that experience, okay? Because too much of it gets canceled, and too many times it's a fucking 100 degrees in a crowd of people, and it's just too much.
Yep.
The sun is great for a couple of hours on the back of a bike or, sitting on the beach or some shit like that. Locals, we know this. We don't want to spend all fucking day out in the sun. I don't want to play in 97 degree heat. It's fucking torture.
Makes you sick.
So,
and if there was any criticism I would have of the local venues is that and we've talked about this before, that the lack, and some are doing a great job of it.
Yeah.
But many still take the position that, well, we've been doing this for the last 15 years. Why would we do anything to keep the band from getting rained out?
Right.
And getting their $40,000 worth of gear soaked?
Well,
keeping our audience covering up where our crowd can actually stay instead of leaving when a little bit of rain comes out of the sky.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some places that are doing a great job of dealing with that.
Every time I see a new tiki place open, I say to myself, "Are you fucking shitting me?" Why? Why would you be another tiki place?
And I understand not everybody can make the same investment that maybe Conky Joe's did on their beautiful new place, or other ones. The investment that the guy at Philly Down South made, which is
greed.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, greed.
But sometimes, it's just a matter of maybe but there are things that they could do to improve it. To make some simple. It's not crazy.
There are ones like Squid Lips in Sebastian invested
another one
in building its size bigger.
Yeah.
Because up until this year, we have had a very healthy population boom. Up until 2022 or 4 or something, it was at 11.4%. It was the migration of everyone wanting to get away from the fucking Biden liberal craziness that was going on and coming down to Florida to escape. That slowed to 2.4% right now. Mm-hmm. So right now Florida itself is dealing with they got way ahead of themselves, and the housing market kind of boom. They're building all this shit all over the place.
I think the housing market has been behind for a long time. I think especially when it comes to affordable housing. If you're a 29-year-old girl with 2 kids
can't afford it.
I mean, my heart goes out for that kind of situation. I see it every day because there's simply no place for them to live.
Dude, in this business, seeing so many young girl bartenders
That's
that
right.
are hustling their asses
That's right.
off for a buck to raise
support
their kids.
That's right.
I got
It's
my real estate
fucking nuts.
license, and I'm voluntarily inactive because I refuse to take money from some people for something that shouldn't cost that much.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I have a conscience. I have a conscience.
Yeah, but there's a lot of weird.
So some of
unfairness.
the building stuff going on right now doesn't bother me, just because I think, like I said, I think it's gonna help that. Not that I'm all about driving real estate prices down, no, but I am no socialist here, right? I am a capitalist to the core, but at the same time, people need a place to live that they can afford. Affordable housing needs to
hear
be,
me out. Okay, hear me out. You are absolutely fucking right. And the more people that move down here, the more people are going to want an experience, not the same old thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Opening up 103rd pizza place is not going to help
another car wash, another
anybody. And all it is doing is watering down the experience. So it's going to reach a point where someone has to capitalize on, how do I create a profit making the experience? Right. And once that happens and you give people the choice, I think that people will go to it. I'm working on something, obviously everybody, if you're one of our Facebook fucking 6 bazillion peoples, I'm working on something to try to take control of that. That would be a BYOB. What?
It looks like you were getting a little bit.
It'll happen on occasion. That would be a BYOB situation that would take the alcohol out of it.
So which eliminates the permitting.
Right. And if you want it, you bring it. If you don't want it, you don't want it.
Yeah.
That's fucking great. We're going to create an experience that doesn't require the sales of alcohol to make the experience. Now, the only way to do that for people that I want to be as transparent along this journey as fucking possible, that it costs money to put on a show.
100%.
Especially one that is not forcing you to drink alcohol to go to the show. The only way to create that kind of show is to do something different. That means, when I say something different, it means like my focus and Shovelhead's focus is moving towards no more of these fucking 4-hour 3-set things, right? None. I mean, we like to keep it in the festivals and keep it into these venues that are larger, like OCC and the Twisted Fork, and places that actually are valuing the music because it's working for them. Yeah. But I want to create a situation where Shovelhed now works on like a 2-hour concert experience.
I was going to say that. I mean, I'm sure you agree with this as well. I mean, I know you do that. I mean, I can play 2 hours straight through standing on my head.
Yes.
Easy. But sometimes getting up there for that last set at night
is too much.
It is just fucking, especially
if you're giving it everything.
When it's hot, you've got it's 87% humidity and 86 degrees out, and the moisture is like on the side of my neck is just like condensating, and everything's sticky, and you're just like, I don't know if I can manage another 45 minutes.
The energy in a 2-hour set
through the roof
can be managed.
Yeah.
Like
I can.
Oh
do
my
that.
God!
You do 4 hours with the much energy as I put out. You know, it's like
it's doable if you're indoors and there's air conditioning. But if you're outdoors, it's brutal. It is just a physical.
Well, see, and that's the whole thing. Is that's how I end up burning myself out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that I want to put all of me into the first song, and all of me into the last song, and all of the songs in between.
Yeah.
But when I get to 40 fucking songs in a night, it is swapping vocal styles back and forth all fucking night,
tough.
Dealing in a less than 100% professional atmosphere. It is fucking hard, man. I am 54 fucking years old. I am not 36 anymore.
That's right.
You know, like this body, I have had, I know what's coming up. My Oktoberfest is coming up and I'm doing 4 big shows in a row. By the time I get to the 4th show on day 5, I can't move.
Yeah.
Literally, I need 20.
Oh, sometimes we'll play, and I mean that next morning I get up and I feel like somebody has beaten me on the body with them. And people don't. Listen, I'll spend 30, 40 grand on equipment
and hydrating already,
and pull it around in a trailer and spend an hour and a half setting this thing up to be able to play for the crowd and do all the things that go spending money on promoting, spend all of those things, doing the work. But man, the one thing of all of it, and I think all of us kind of agree, is that, man, that just the conditions for that, when the weather gets like that. And I know a lot of people, that's what brings them out, is to be able to, but they're only out there, a lot of times they're out there, an hour and a half. And they're like, we've had a couple drinks. Oh, let's go get in the car and go home.
Right.
We're still up there grinding away, dying.
What happens is when they do the one more song at the end of the night,
I don't mind.
Like everyone in the band has just spent literally every ounce of energy to give as much as they could, as professionally as they could, under the most extreme conditions. The
weekend we played at Live at the Loop, you played, I think, maybe Earl's, or that one weekend when it was just so.
Yes.
I mean, I got done playing. I mean, I wanted to sit down on the edge of the stage and I laid down. I
lose weight I was fucking retarded.
I mean, I am pounding water and Gatorade and Gatorade especially, try to keep the electrolytes up. But I mean, the folks don't realize that in the next morning, I'm going to feel like I've been beaten on my body with a baseball bat. Like I'm on a
and I don't drink alcohol.
Physically hurt. I don't drink either. I never drink.
So I don't touch
yeah.
No, dude. It's in this weather, the more you drink, the more dehydrated.
I can handle all of it. That's the part that really. That's the 4 hour, and I get it. I mean, I know from the old days. I mean, some people
40. He's gonna
exactly, but I mean, from playing up north, you know this. It used to, some places would be 5 and 6 hours. It's not unusual that those used to happen back in the day, but no, they were almost always indoors. And you know,
I have broken every single bone in my body. I broke my neck. I got hit by a school bus. I severed every single tendon in this wrist.
You feel it
every day. I can't even stop this hand from shaking because of the broken bones.
Oh my gosh.
I feel everything that I do, and the fact that I can put on the show that I do every time for people that come out and see us. I'm happy to do it, man. It's why I do it, man.
Well, that's why we do it. It's not because we're making so damn much money.
That's damn fucking sure.
You know, it's like there's a lot easier ways to make money than this, and we do it because we love it, because we want to bring something special to the people that come see us. That's why if we value, all of us value every single one of those follows and those likes and those things but people, when you repost something, that's why it means so much to us that you're doing that you're becoming a part of our world and including yourself in that. And that's why we do it. That's why we stand up there and let the sweat pour off of us.
Yeah.
And get start to feel sick at the end of the night because we value bringing that to you.
Start to feel. I could tell. Yeah. My guys will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
3 times last year, I had to leave the stage with heat stroke. 3 fucking separate times, and then like Patrick wants more gigs, and I'm like, I don't want to play between July and fucking September.
Yeah,
it's way too much. It's way too much for me, man. Because I design all 3 sets, each set to be a show all by itself, because there's different people at each different time during the night.
Exactly.
People in the first set usually are the people that need to be there early because they want their spot.
Yeah.
The people that are eating dinner. And so you don't want to come in like a fucking animal and fuck up somebody's dinner because your mindset is on your venue. The venue needs to make a profit to be able to pay for me. So, you have to design, there's a science behind when you do it. And then every venue's got a different start and finish time based on the business model of the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have some places here that want you to start at 7, some places that want you to start at 6, some places that want you to start at 8. I have
live at the
other
Loop.
places,
We start at 5:30.
Yeah. I have other places
On a Friday.
down south that you start at 9.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of other places down south you don't start until 10:30.
Really?
Yeah. Then, you go over on the West Coast and it's different at different times of the day and for different lengths during the day. And it's more like a noon to 4 and then a 4 to 6 and then, or 4 to 8 and then a 8 to 11 or whatever the sound ordinances are. So it's very hard to actually get your body into a rhythm of how.
And other places around the country, are able to. One of the ways they resolve that, and they're able to bring in a band that can give 2 hours or maybe 3 hours of really do something, is the thing, and is venues that already provide a sound system and a sound.
Yes.
So as a band, all you do is bring you can do a 20-minute setup and 10 minutes of sound check and give a great show.
Yeah.
And then, the next, you do your 2 or 3 hours, you get off, takes you, you can 10 minutes, 15, you get off, next band comes up and you can do that. And that way.
Because most of us today have now had to use Behringers, right? The X32s or something of that similar nature. It is so fucking easy for a band to be able to take a snapshot of their favorite fucking sound and bring it to a venue and let the sound, and then you plug it in just like you would on your normal day, which makes easy fucking setup and sound up and the whole 9 yards. Hand it to the sound guy. He can now tweak it to his fucking pleasure and his specifications. And you have got the same monitor mix that you had that you designed for your fucking self. Now, all you would have to have is a permanent system with a compatible software drive, and everybody down here would have an easier fucking life.
Yep.
The other thing would be to become, venues need to become a Engineer specific. It's the only way.
What do you mean by?
Okay, so if I'm a tiki fucking bar, I should be having some kind of steel drums. I should have some kind of a cheeseburger in paradise, parrot head music going on, and eagles, and specific to the vibe that my bar presents. Now, if every tiki bar,
and there's a few places that do that.
There are a few places that do that. Then, if you're a place that is blues only, funnel everything into being the best motherfucking blues only place that there is. If you're hard rock, funnel everything into being the best hard rock that you can.
I'll give credit where credit's due. That's what, to some degree, that's what Nick's done at Filthy's. He's tried to do that, tried to focus a specific thing.
He has, he's smart. He knows who is bringing him crowds. Yeah. And it's fucking important. He's got the PA there, and bands love to get in there because it's plug and play. Yeah. And he is a musician.
He's a player himself.
So he knows,
Are they still doing the other stuff late at night also? Or
No.
Okay.
No, they don't do the changeover.
I'd heard that they
That's not to say that they don't ever will, because it was very popular.
I thought, that is a money-making machine right there.
Yeah.
But
I turned these guys onto that place, too.
Oh, yeah, we've been killing it there lately.
Yeah.
He's got a good vibe. He knows his room.
Yeah.
If you go in there and just listen to him and understand from the start what he needs, get up there and do your fucking thing. And, invite him up to play with you. He'll come up and play with you. We love him. Him. Because he's another one. He doesn't drink.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he might not be a little stoned, but that's my kind of person.
Yeah.
And he and I vibe really, really fucking well. His wife's a sweetheart.
I think the guy that runs Philly down south has done that.
Jim's fucking great. That place is great.
We played there. I had a good crowd there. We have not been back, but I'd love to play there some more.
The fact that he had the foresight to build a tiki that fits 150 to 200 people
and it's
under
covered.
it.
When we were playing, it was raining.
Yeah.
I'm like, life is good.
He has big plans. He's not done. He's got plans to expand, and he's a very smart fucking guy.
Yeah.
He
and
really
is. I can't say enough about the new Conky Joe's room. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
That's just amazing.
It is. How was the sound?
Oh my God.
Like the video sounded good, but the video is different.
The sound is amazing because it's 3 sections of a gigantic, like a reverse pyramid.
Yeah.
Seat roof with the thatch.
Tin roofs?
No, the thatch.
Ooh,
all the way back that absorbs that sound.
Yeah,
the sound is glorious in there. They've got that beautiful stage. We bring our own lights, but they have lights as well. It's all, they are set up. The load in, load out could be easier, but life is what life is, but as far as the rest of it, no, it's great. It's a great room. Like I said, there are some places that are coming along, so. But it's nice to see people that try to make that effort and find
Filthy's, my only problem with Filthy's is Filthy's needs to be bigger.
Yeah.
Because
he's got a space.
I want to fit more people in there.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know if the ladies want to give up the ladies next door want to give up their haircut in place.
They love to dance.
Yeah.
The people at Filthy's love to dance, and they get into the vibe of whatever the band is giving. They give it right back.
Yeah.
So, and I love that. I do. And plus it's indoors, like 4th of July, it's supposed to pour out.
Yeah.
I'll be indoors at Filthy's.
And only we would be the only ones that would care about it, but having the load in room.
Oh yeah.
That's just the best.
Yeah.
Where you can actually put stuff. And get out,
Yes.
I know you're like I am. When I go on break, a lot of times I'll go out and sit in my car. I'll start the car, turn the air on. I just need quiet.
We all do.
Quiet. I need to get away from
it. Out, and Patrick likes his fans.
And I'll go out first break and do a walk around meet and greet. Just say hi to people, thank them for coming. But after that, I have to get some quiet.
I need a cigarette, immediately.
Just to chill it out.
Ready for a cigarette myself.
Just to chill it out for a minute because the chaos on stage gets, is a lot. It's a lot.
Everybody wants to talk.
Yeah.
And all I'm thinking is cigarette. What's the fastest fucking way for me to get to a cigarette?
Yeah. That going back to playing in 2008 was the way I was able to quit. Because I can't sing and smoke. And that was my motivation.
All right. God's honest truth.
I will sing with a cigarette right out of my mouth.
No, I can't do that. I can't sing and play because it does interrupt my airflow. I'm afraid to stop smoking because it'll change my voice.
It probably would.
My man.
And at 54, now, if someone's going to say it's a cop-out, you're addicted. Yes, I'm addicted. At 54 years old, I've been smoking since I was 16.
Yeah.
I am addicted.
Not only that, the health risks involved with quitting.
Well,
the withdrawals to it could cause more.
Look, it's not. Would I love to be healthier? Absolutely. I do. It's the same reason why Barbara Streisand doesn't want to get her fucking nose fixed in her whole fucking life is because it would totally affect her singing.
We may be froze up there. That's been sitting like that for a little bit.
Oh shit! Let's see. I can't. I need my glasses. Yeah. Looks like we're still going, but actually we are at the 2 hours and 12-minute mark. So that's where we're going to wrap this up. Because everything appears to still be fucking going, but who knows? Let me see.
It's still running?
Yeah. It says it is 2 hours and 9 minutes. Let's wrap it up regardless of anyway. The gig's coming up. Sweet release.
We are taking a little bit of break here in the hot months in July. Coming back strong at Taco Tiki in Jensen Beach, August 2nd, and Tipsy Tiki in Fort Pierce, August 10th, and then I have a bunch of them. You can find us online. Sweet Release on Facebook. Sweet Release on Facebook.
Sweet Release, not Sweat Release.
No,
Not
or
Sweet Release.
Sweet Relish.
Sweet
Yeah.
Relish.
Yeah, don't use auto spell. Spell it out. Sweet. It's not hard.
The worst. By the way, the worst thing I could have ever done was put our Sweet Release band stickers in all these bathrooms across the state of Florida, because I'm getting some fucking weird phone calls.
And high mileage.
High mileage. Join me and I'm Jamie Ryan. Join me and Chris Polini, Doug O'Malley, and Jason Amy. We are going to be at Earl's on it is Friday night the 11th at Earl's. We are the following 2 days later on the 13th. We're playing at the Stewart Riverfront. What I forget, I always get the wrong name for that. They've been down the downtown Riverfront Riverwalk. That's what it is. We're doing that on the 13th.
Oh, that's a cool venue.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
We're that. I've got a couple of beachside gigs after that, and then on the 2nd we're back at the Sebastian Tiki, back home again. So y'all join us. Please look for ads. Go on our website, High Mileage Band, HIMileageband.com, and follow our calendar and everything there.
Yeah. Hey, I hope you guys had an enjoyable 2 hours, and maybe you learned something new about somebody that you can go and check their bands out and become a fan of theirs as well. That's what this whole thing is about. It's very hard today for musicians to reach new fans in the market that has so many people fighting for the same gig. So please check these guys out. Sweet Release, High Mileage.
Thank you so much for doing this, for taking your time in your house and all the gear and everything to get the message out that for us to be able to actually speak to folks on a larger scale.
It
to
takes
tell them
a
how
village,
much we love this.
man.
Appreciate you doing
it. Does. It takes a village to change things. So all for the better, man. July 4th, Filthy's final.
Tell me all those dirty, dirty secrets.